Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be making a three-part corset using our bra cup. So if this is something you'd like to learn, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So for this tutorial, we'll need our bra cup and our masking tape, and of course our pattern paper and scissors, tape rule, and every other thing that we are going to use. So I've gone ahead to draft the basic bodice pattern, but we are not using every part of the basic bodice pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead now and use my marker to trace out the lines we are going to be using for this tutorial. So guys, I've gone ahead to mark out my chest line, bust points, under bust and waistline. So on the waistline, I'm just going to mark out 4¼ of an inch, which is going to stand as my dart line. I'm going to mark out that same line, that same measurement on the under bust. So after marking it, I'm going to use my ruler to connect those 2 points on the waistline and on the other bust together. So after connecting them together, I'm just going to take my tape rule and mark out half inch on both sides of the dart line, and I'm going to connect it to the dart line on the on the under bust rather. So that's just our dart line. So after marking out our dart line, the next thing we are going to do now is to take our cup. So I'm just going to place the midpoint of our cup straight on that dart line that we just marked out. So I'm just going to align it properly and hold it firm so that it will not be shifting. So after I do that, I'm just going to use my marker to trace out the cup on the pattern paper. So I'm going to trace it out from one side, then I'll trace it down to the cup, to the under bust, then I'll trace the other side as well down to the under bust, and that's that. I'm just going to remove my cup after tracing it out like that. So where that cup end on the center front, I'm going to use a straight line to connect it to the center front. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to find the midpoints on my armhole. So when I find that midpoint on the armhole, I'm going to mark out the midpoints. Then after marking out the midpoints, I'll come down by half an inch. So after when I come down by half an inch, I'm just going to make a straight line on that half an inch that I came down with, and that's going to serve as our new chest line. So after marking the new chest line, I'm just going to go ahead and blend it to where the cup ends on the bust point. So after marking it out like that, the next thing I'm going to do is to insert the circumference measurement, starting from the bust measurement and waist measurement. So the bust measurement I'm using is 11 inches, so I'm going to mark out 11 inches. Then I'm going to add 1½ inch seam allowance to it. Then I'll go to the waistline and mark out my waist circumference, which is 9¼ of an inch. So I'm going to mark that out. Then the distance between our dart lines is 1 inch. I'm going to add it to it. Then I will add 1½ inch seam stitch allowance. So after adding the 1½ inch stitch allowance, I'm going to connect those two lines together, like the bust line and the waistline. I'm going to connect them together with a straight line. So after connecting them together, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the pattern, and we are basically done with our front panel. So guys, we have cut out our front panel, So I'm just going to label it front now. So after labeling it, I'm going to pin it to another side of the pattern paper, and I'm just going to use it to cut out our back panel. So now I'm trying to mark out 1 inch allowance for our zipper allowance, because we are using zipper for this outfit, because I'm attaching it to a skirt. So I'm going to mark out the zipper allowance, then I'm just going to trace out other lines on it. I'll trace the down part, the that line, and every other lines on the front panel. I will trace it out for the back panel so as to make the back panel. So after tracing it out, I will remove the front panel and I will go ahead and cut it out. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut out the back panel, and I've labeled it back. So this is the back panel and this is the front panel. So now we are just going to set it aside so we can start work on our cup. So we are going to pick one side of our cup, and we are just going to start wrapping the back of the cup with our masking tape. But make sure when you are wrapping it, you leave excesses both on the top part, on the side parts, and on the down parts. And the reason why you should leave these excesses is because you do not want the masking tape to be shorter than your cup. It's better that it is longer so that you can trim it off when you are actually done wrapping it, instead of it being short and you have to start all over again. So now I'm just going to go ahead now and wrap every part of this cup up with my masking tape. Also, while wrapping it up, make sure that the next layer you are the next layer of masking tape you are using is on top, is like half of it is on top of the previous layer, so that everything will be laying on top of each other. So when you are removing it, it will not be removing one by one. So guys, we are done wrapping our bra cup with the masking tape. So as you can see, it's looking so fine, even though it's looking a bit rough. So I'm just going to trim off the excesses of the masking tape now. So I'm done trimming off the excesses. So the next thing we are going to do is to start working on the masking tape. So on one side of the cup, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch. So if you want to mark more than that, you can mark more than that. On the other side as well, I'm marking 1.5 inch, and that's going to serve as where the one of the parts of the cup is going to start. So now I'm going to measure the bra cup, the top of the bra cup, and point out the midpoint. So once I already noted the midpoint, I'm going to use my marker to trace the midpoint down to the down of the cup. After tracing it to the down of the cup, then I'm going to place my tape on that line again and measure 2 inches from the beginning of the cup. So these 2 inches, I'm going to trace it to join each of the 1.5 inches that I marked out on each of the sides of the cup. So once I connect it now, the next thing you are going to do is to remove the masking tape from the cup, but I'm going to go ahead and remove it off camera because it takes a lot of patience. So I'll bring it back after removing it. So guys, after a million years, I finally removed the masking tape from the cup, and as you can see, the masking tape have already taken the shape of the cup. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to separate the cup into three parts. So I'm going to cut the upper part in a single line, in a single form. Then I'm going to split the down part into two as well. So our three part is ready. So guys, we have separated it into three parts. So if you want to do two-part corset as well, you can use the masking tape method as well. You are just going to split it into two instead of three. So I'm just going to label this cup now, and I'm putting down the arrows that is going to show me how I'm going to like sew it together when I cut it on the fabric. So now this is the front and the back panel. I'm going to go ahead now and cut it on the fabric. So I've cut out all this pattern on the fabric, and as you can see, I added half an inch on the cups, and I added half an inch as well to the cup side of the front panel as well as the down part. On the back panel as well, I added half an inch to the top part as well as the down part. And as you can see, I'm using two different fabric for the cup part, and that's because I want it to like look a little bit beautiful when I finish sewing it. So now I've gone ahead to cut the lining for these fabrics as well. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and add my hairstay to the lining as well as to the velvet of this fabric. So guys, I've gone ahead to attach the hairstay like I said, and I attached it as well to my velvet, although I didn't attach hairstay to the Ankara fabric. And the reason why I attach hairstay to the velvet is because velvet is always drawing and it's always kind of soft. So to give it structure, that's the reason why I attached hairstay to the velvet. So now I'm just going to like arrange my cup, and so that we know how I'm going to like join it together. So that's what I'm actually doing now. I'm actually arranging the cup. So once I arrange the cup, I'll join the cup together, and I'm going to use my pin to pin it together. So after pinning it together, I'll take it to my machine and sew it, press it open and attach the top part to it. So guys, I've already gone ahead to sew the cup parts together, and as you can see, it's already looking so beautiful. I love the way it's looking. So the next thing is to attach our cup to it, and we are going to be using our Emmy gum to attach the cup to the fabric. But before then, we need to like give our cup a form of like bra like shape. So I'm just going to fold my cup into two now. So after folding it into two, I'll take it to my machine and sew it down with half an inch as I'm tracing it like that. So I'll start with half an inch from the beginning of the cup, and I'll sew it down to that part that I just touched. So I've gone ahead to sew it now, and as you can see, it has like a shape that is going to hold our boobs firmly. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to insert the cup, one of the cup, into the fabric, and after inserting it, I'm just going to bring my tailor's arm, and I'll bring the Emmy gum as well. So I'm just going to like place the cup on the I'm going to place the cup on the tailor's arm. So after placing the cup on the tailor's arms, I'm going to arrange my Emmy gum on it, and after arranging the Emmy gum on it, I'll place the fabric on top of it, and I'm going to use my iron to like press it down. Guys, it took me a while before I could press this thing down, and it's because this my iron is used to the shocking zone one, so I don't want it to like shock me or even burn my clothes. But last I had to increase the tempo so that I'll be fast with it. So once I'm done fixing this, I will let you guys know. So guys, I'm done fixing the cup into the fabric, and it's already looking so good. So I'm going to do the same for the second cup as well, after which I will come back and show you guys how it looks. So I've gone ahead to fix the two cups in the fabric, and I will set them aside. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start working on my fabric. So I'm going to like bring out my front panel. So this is my front panel. Remember the other time that when we were drafting, we marked out the dart points. So this is exactly the dart point on the two sides. So I'm going to take in the dart point. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach my boning casing to the midpoint and to the two sides of the dart points. So guys, I'm done taking in my darts, and I've gone ahead to attach the boning casing. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to attach the cup to the panel, to the front panel. But I can see that this cup has excess allowance. The allowance is in excess, so I'm going to trim it off a bit. If yours is not more than half an inch, please don't trim it off, so that you not have shortage of clothes. Mine is more than half an inch, and that's why I'm trimming it off. So after trimming it off, I'm going to place it on the front panel, and I'm just going to pin it down, pin the cup down to the front panel. So it's already looking so good even without sewing it. But now I'm going to take it to my machine now and sew it down. Then I will do the same for the second cup as well. My people, our clothes is already coming out so beautiful. As you can see, it's looking just so neat. Like, it's looking so neat outside, and if you turn it inside as well, it's looking so neat as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to take my lining now and repeat everything that I did on this fabric on the lining. So guys, I've gone ahead to do that for the fabric, for the lining rather. So I'm going to place it on the fabric, but before joining it together, to cut some straps, and that's because I don't like my shoulder like showing that much when I wear this when I wear clothes like this. So that's why I went ahead to make some strap. So after making the strap, I notch the midpoint of the strap and I place it on the midpoint of the cup. So I'm going to do the same for the other side of the cup as well. Then I'm going to place my lining on it, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and I'm going to pin it round. So I've gone ahead to pin it down. The next thing is that I'm going to sew it down like so. After that, I'm going to notch it, flip the lining over and top stitch on the lining. Guys, I've gone ahead to do that, and as you can see the way it's looking so neat and beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start working on the back panel as well. So I'm going to join the neckline of the back panel together, the neckline of the lining and that of the fabric together. But before I do that, I'm going to insert the strap into it just like I did for the front panel, and I'm going to stitch it down for both sides. So guys, I've gone ahead to work on the back panel. So as you can see, it's looking so neat inside and outside. So what I'm going to do now is to place the front panel and the back panel on each other, which I have just done. So after placing it on each other, I remember that we used 1.5 inch, we added 1.5 inch stitch allowance. So I'm just going to take it to my machine now and sew it down on the sides with 1.5 inch allowance. Then after sewing it down with 1.5 inch, I'm going to attach the skirt to it. Remember I said I'm attaching skirts, then I will attach a zipper to it. After that, I'll bring it back. Guys, this is the final look. As you can see, it's looking so neat and beautiful. I had to wear it on a mannequin. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this tutorial. Please do well to like this video, comment in the comment section below if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to this channel to enjoy more content. Till my next video, guys. Bye.